I didn't manage to check in with you first.
Hi there.
Hello. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm also good. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Just give me a second here.
sure.
So tell me about Go.
Oh, it was good. It was really good. I mean, you saw his face, hey Jesse. He was so proud of himself, It was wonderful. And he loves it. And I can't remember whether I said to you, but at the end, because we did the 9 board, the 9 by 9, and then he said, so now we're going to do the 13 by 13, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have my ass whipped even worse. And so we did it, and I was amazed because I mean it was reasonably fast and flowed, and yeah, and it took us almost the same amount of time because that was his second game, right? But I mean, I was so impressed with how quickly he got the concepts and could apply them, how he could strategize. Once or twice I saw things that he wasn't seeing. I could see that he didn't see them. So I said to him, okay, you can play that, but have you noticed this? And he hadn't noticed it. But I mean, he whipped my ass. Like he captured so many of my stones. It was great. It was really, really good. So when I had supper there with him, and then as I was about to leave, he brings the game to me. Because we played on the board, we didn't play on the computer, right? So I looked at him and I said to him, do you like it enough to use if I leave it here for 2 weeks? And his whole face just beamed. So I'm so happy. So because they're going to the cottage, and he's got friends coming, and so it's really great. But the thing that he said to me, which I was so like struck by, he's so insightful, this young kid. He says to me, there's the rules are pretty simple, and so you can play a basic game. He said that's great, but I can see to really be good at this game, it's going to take you a few years to master it. And that's exactly it, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so I was really happy, because I mean, he's 15, he loves music, goes to a choir school, he sings, and he really, really, really enjoys it. And he knows that I'm quite partial to that, but I haven't been able to go to his concerts for the last 4 years now, so there's not much other than just life stuff. Um, you know, what was the one thing that came up? God, I don't know how it came, what it was now, but it was a game I think that he had. Yes, it was a game that he had that is the Lord of the Rings board game. It's based on Lord of the Rings. It is super complex. It took him and his friend something like 6 hours to learn the rules of the game, to understand everything. So the game is very intricate in that way. And he was comparing the two games, and he said to me, you know, um, I can't remember the name of the other one, but he said, that one takes forever to learn. It's really complex to learn how to play it. But once you've learned the rules, there's no problem in playing it. You know, he said, well, but this is the opposite. So, you know, the comparison between the two in terms of looking at I guess we could call it what their coordinates are. In other words, looking at the structure, right? And in his game, I found this really interesting. So if you were from the light, you know, in inverted commas, but so in other words, from the elves and the wizards, and you got killed in a battle, your soul was released. You never came back. But if you're on the orc side and you got killed, you would come back. That's the philosophy of the game. And so he's telling me this, and I said to him, gosh, Kelly, I find that so interesting. And he said, yes, it is, isn't it? And I said, you know, the reason why I find it interesting is because on a very superficial level, it describes the laws in karma. And so, you know, he's heard of karma before, but he doesn't quite know what it is. And I said to him, you know, if you're on the light side, it means that you have more than not, you've likely been able to shift all the shadow. In other words, all the mental stuff in your life that's attached to your ego. And he got that. Said, so if you've been able to release it, then you there's no need for you to return to do the releasing, because it seems like maybe that is what a major purpose of life on earth is about. And he sat there looking at me, and I could see like the cogs turning, because he's a Catholic boy, right? A Catholic background, the school is Catholic. And they're very open in their Catholicism, like the whole thing about everything that happened with them discovering, you know, the graves of the Aboriginal children that died in the reservation schools. I don't know if you heard about it, but I mean, over the last like 6 years, there've been, I don't know how many sites that they found. And there was all kids that were in the residential schools. So their family had very big discussions about this and about the role of the church, and the kids, you know, whether they wanted to remain in the Catholic religion or not, or you know, all of that kind of thing. And the oldest, Nora, has said she's done. She doesn't want to do it anymore. Don't know if she still feels like that, but she did then. And Kelly was younger then, you know, he was only about 11 or 12. And he asked me the one day about it, and I said to him, you know, Kelly, every organization has got its dark side. There's not one single one that doesn't have. So wait until you're older. At the moment, you enjoy, I mean, the singing that they do is all choral work, right? It's all got, you know, it's not gospel. It's all the old historical hymns and all of that. And he really loves it. And he also loves his pop songs. And he plays on the piano and plays beautifully. And I said to him, so you stay with what works for you for now. And later, when you've been able to uncover more, then you can make different decisions then. So then when we were sitting then and having this discussion now, like 3 or 4 years later, and I could see, because I'm very careful, I've never spoken too much about it, but I mean, Bruce is very open about his thing, and the dad knows, of course. And then when Bruce wrote his book on the meditation, they all got to see it, and they all know about meditation, and Sean practices it for stress, so he does the mindfulness stuff, so the language is there, but they've never asked about it. They've never really been curious. So with this, it was really interesting to watch him, and I didn't ask more. I could see him, just the cogs turning like this, and he looked at me and he said, that's different to what we're taught at school. And I said, yeah, probably, but there might be overlaps too, you've got to go and find them. And that was it. And he didn't ask any more. So sorry, that's a long answer, but it went I was very happy for him to have something different. And also, like, the thing is, I said to him, if you teach your mom and dad, and his mom will be good at it. She's very bright and she loves board games. So teach mom, and then you guys can play for an hour, before supper.
Yeah.
It was so nice,
Yeah,
And
you
then
can leave a game out. It's like, it becomes a conversation piece. It continues.
Yeah, exactly.
It becomes a life of its own.
Yeah. And then last night I played online, which was nice, because you get told whether you can make a move or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about the online. It's really nice for learning.
Yeah.
And I played online with other friends of ours, and so that was good, because he didn't know what he was doing, and it was kind of also a thing of the blind leading the blinds. But we both learned, so it was good. So the one thing I wanted to ask you, that concept of when you go into somebody else's territory, that you actually then lose, that counts against you. If you go into somebody at the end of the game, if your pieces are in somebody else's territory and you haven't managed to capture any of him,
Mm-hmm.
Of your opponent,
Mm-hmm.
then your pieces there take away your own liberties. That's correct, right?
They don't necessarily, yes, like there's a yes to that, because one, you've missed an opportunity to build territory.
That's right.
And that stone becomes captured. So it is just like they captured their stone. They just didn't have to put the resources into it.
Yeah.
Or they just put enough resources into it, or they put in too many resources for it, depending on who came out on top.
Yeah. He came out on top.
Mm-hmm.
I never managed to capture any of his stones in his own territory.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other way you think about it is that it's like the other way I think about it is that I'm trying to take away their territory. So if I can run a thread into their territory and connect it back to my group, and it's connected back into my group, then I've taken their territory. I've taken their territory. So that's what I'm always trying to do, is connect it back to the strength.
Yes. Yes.
And you can do that early on.
That's right. But if you don't have it connected to yours, it's not such a good idea to do.
That's right. And so you're always setting that up, and there's so a same line space in between. So if you're on the same line with one space in between, which is the beginning of the eye, that is the strongest quote group that you have. It's a one liberty connection, right? So they're connect. Now you can what you can also do is go two lines and then over one. Go up two and over one.
Oh,
that's a stronger one than just going up two.
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're building an
Yeah.
eye already. You're setting the structure up for that eye, and then it gives you room to connect it back. And especially if you go up to and over towards the side, play towards the side, you've got strength.
Yeah.
So that's like the 3-3 or a 4-3 is a very good place to play. Those are great. Now the strongest, it's not like the strongest, but the easiest one to hold is a 3-3 beginning. That's right on the black dot. That's right on the black. An aggressive opening move is a 4-3. So you go up 4 from your bottom corner, go up 4 and over 3.
From your bottom corner.
Yeah. So rather than starting on a 3-3, you're starting on a 4-3 line.
Yeah. What do you mean by a 4-3 line, Jess? Sorry.
So 4 from the bottom, 4 up.
Yeah.
You can imagine the 4 dots, the 4 black dots that are on the board.
Yeah.
Those are all on a 3-3 line, meaning they come up 3 and they come over 3.
Okay. Yeah.
And another way is like, so you can come up 4 and over 3, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's another like a way to.
It's a stronghold.
Yep. It's a different skill. It's a different opening move because it takes a little bit more to hold that 4-3, but you've also created more room in the corner. So you've created more room in the corner, which means you're closer to their territory, but then you've also opened yourself up behind your lines, right? Behind your protective lines, you've opened that up at the beginning. So the threat is someone comes and plays on that 3-3. So it's kind of it's just, different ways. And then what you're, like how the certain pawn in chess can move the L shape, right? They can go up 3 and over 1. It's like the go board move that is like, especially if you're expanding on the sides, that's always a powerful one to move. Up 2 over 1, up 2 and over towards the corner because you're grabbing more territory.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's more on the opening game in designing that. And, so that's, there's different things to consider in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was, so that was Kelly. I mean, with, I think I explained it to Neil and, I mean, he's in his 50s. So, I mean, he gets this stuff. But with Kelly, I said to him, you can play this game strategically or defensively, and I said that. So that's what my coach was teaching me. Like when I play defensively, what happens? And when I play strategically, what can happen? And what happens when I move, just to be aware of how I play. And he looks at me, he says, so in other words, you're playing the patterns of your opponent. And my mouth just was like, how did you put that together? But he did. That was, it was so great. It'll open up so much conversation, for me to have with him. Yeah. And like I said, his mom she loves board games. She's also a very, she's got a lot of emotional intelligence, a huge amount, very empathic, very clear about what she wants in life. And so it's a nice combination, so often she's talking about this stuff in front of them. And I sent her the one Robert Fritz video, and she watched it and she said to me, this is very interesting, so she's keen to kind of start learning more about it because her position at work has always been like in communications. That's kind of been her, her directive. So I just think it will open up a lot in terms of conversations about how you deal with your emotions, but then, I mean, for me, it was so helpful to have the concept of structure, to ask myself, what am I doing? Am I trying to solve a problem only? Or am I seeing to something within the realm of a creative structure? Because that, for me, that's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really pleased about it, because he's a shy, he's got confidence in what he perceives. So he doesn't lack confidence, but he's shy in a way. And I think giving him this will give him more language around what he's trying to achieve and what he's trying to do. And that will make a big difference, especially, when he said to me, so in other words, you're playing the other person's patterns. I mean, that's really insightful for a 15-year-old.
That's someone that's always listening.
That's right.
He's
That's right.
listening, observing it, taking it in, and then it's comparing to ourselves. It's like internally comparing it. And that's the confidence comes when it's like, oh, I can see out there that what I'm coming up with matters, because that's the problem, is we're trying to match it to the world.
That's right. And Jesse, this kid, when he was 5 years old, so we were having a Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner or something like that. And Bruce was being, part of what he usually is, and throwing jokes around all the time. And this little voice pipes up and says, Grampy, you make a lot of jokes. And I couldn't believe it. Bruce actually said to him, do I make too many jokes, Callie? And this little face, 5-year-old with his eyes this big, looks at him, blue eyes, and says, a lot of the time, yes. This is Bruce's defense, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And at 5, you pick that up. And you got confidence to speak to it. Yeah, so I shouldn't be too surprised about what he's been able to put together, but it was wonderful. It was a really lovely afternoon. Right? It was so nice. So thank you. The Go game is going to many households.
It has many purposes when we use it.
Yeah.
It's space.
Yeah.
It's space, and we don't know what it'll create for space. That's the beauty of it. And it's simple. It's there. It's structured. And it's so much structure of it, through it, in it.
Yeah.
And it's been around a long time, so it's probably not the first time we've seen it.
I know. Did you, Bruce said to me that was the first time, I think he said a year ago, that the computer actually beat the world champ.
Yeah, first time.
But it's taken it, it's taken it that long. But it's no wonder, right? As Bruce said, because they make this computer play it just all day long, like 27.
And anticipate. And the beauty of it is and what comes out of it is, as they play them, and then the Go players beat it again.
Wow.
So it's this back and forth, and what's happening with it is Go players are seeing where they're limited in their moves. We couldn't see it before, and then it's the game, the computer played something completely different. It was I've heard this, I read a story on it. It's it played something completely different, where they said, why would you do that? And when that happens,
that's right.
It's
Bruce said that.
And it's poof, it opens it up now. And it's oh, so again, it's the patterns are seeing their own patterns.
Yeah. So something interesting, kind of similar, I sat yesterday and I worked an ad on AI with ChatGPT. And I had certain sections that I was given, you know, what the ad had to consist of, and I had the time. And so, as you know, the whole thing is with the prompting, right?
Yeah.
So it took me a while, but what I was fascinated by was that it gave me verbiage which up to now I've wanted to use, but I haven't had the encouragement from the formal marketing side to use that language.
Mhm.
And all of and it was just there, and it was perfect. And I was like thinking, where the hell, like, how the hell did this happen? But of course, because I forget that it keeps on going back, and it looks at, so you've got the language that you put in, then it goes into its own archives and looks at all the words that are attached to that, to certain words that you use, and it brings them in. It was really interesting. Really, really interesting. I'll send you a copy so that you can, you know, can read it and see it.
We did
So that was also, it was also a good exercise, you know, because up to now, I mean, the stuff that I've been doing for the manual, I haven't really, doesn't really resonated with me, you know, but it's because of the prompts, right? If you put the right prompts in, you'll get back much better than what, well, certainly for me, much better than what I can actually write. And what I like about using it is that it gives me something then to go, I want that expanded, I don't want this. Right.
Yeah.
As you know, I mean,
Goalposts. Yeah. We've got an opportunity to for Troy's gymnastics. Yeah. That with a local Bakersfield advertising group. So it's like all the marketers in town, right? All of the advertising groups. It's through the we know, like one of his friends' dad is on the, like, he's part of it, and they're always looking for stories like this that they're going to put focus and attention onto. And so we worked it. It was like, well, let's just see what Chat GPT will come up with.
oh, nice.
And it was like, oh, here's the prompts. It's like, this is what I want. Here's my intention. Here's the filling in. And it's like, well, produce it. And it was like, it needed to go out this morning. And it was like, oh, what we had got stripped down. We put this in its place and then merged what we had into it.
Yes.
In like
Yes.
8 minutes.
I know. I mean, it took me 2 hours yesterday, but I was reworking, you know.
Yeah. My wife, she goes, oh, this is what I wanted when I wanted your help. And I said, well, yeah, I tried. And you said no. I got it. She's like, this is way better. I was like, I know. It's like, it's a tool that we can use for certain things.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
that's
it's all
very
about
good.
the prompt. It's all, and you know, something that I've noticed, like even internet searches are that way, right? It all depends on what you put in on the internet search. It's like, what's the intention, right? This is like, aim it at the intention, ask it what you want it to do. And, you know, like ours is like, we want to raise money for an elite athlete that's local. Gymnastics, these are the accomplishments, and it builds out a frame. And it's like, okay, now I can, like you said, I can expand this, I can take away from this, I want this, I don't want that. And it is the beauty of the words, because it's just a vivid story that it creates. It draws and compels you in.
I know. Yeah. I mean, you'll see the language. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I want to be able to use. Yeah. It was really, I must say, I was way more intrigued with that aspect of it, you know, and it kind of made me think again, like, what is on the other side of this?
Yeah.
You know, we'll never be able to be as smart as it, but maybe our creative intelligence will actually expand.
Yeah, it will. And then it expands, and it's the back and forth. It's just a tool we've always used tools.
I know.
Problem
So we go
is
back.
when we give it the power to say like, oh, it's going to
Exactly.
do this, and we surrender to it. So then, yes, it will do that because we're
Yeah.
giving it the instructions.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's like what
Right.
instructions are we giving it? And part of it is like what we don't know. It's going to see our patterns.
God, I just, I mean, it makes me pretty nervous, right? Because I just think that's, I mean, so much of my meditation training was always about the attitude with which you come to things. It's not the thing itself, it's the attitude with which you come, which is, where is your power and what is your intention? That is your attitude.
Yep. Yep.
Right?
That's creative. Like, what do you want and where are you? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. So often we're not aware of where we are.
No.
That's where I want to be. What do I got to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is just a powerless structure.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty interesting, man. I didn't manage yesterday, but Bruce was watching a documentary on AI and quantum computers. So I want to watch that. I mean, that just like that explodes AI even more, you know.
Yeah. Just allows it to so much more prediction, or pattern seeking, or I don't know what did it say? Like the new computer can answer it in seconds. That would take a typical computer 2,000 years to run a certain math calculation. I mean, you just think,
oh my God. Oh.
That is.
Yes. You know, the way that I was also thinking about it conceptually, about the quantum computing was, I mean, I thought about all the lifetimes that I know of, that of the enlightened people that I know of, which aren't all that many, but at least the 3 live ones that I have met in my lifetime. And I know of their capacity not only to see their own past lives, but to see others' past lives and future lives. So if you imagine that energetic pattern that is in existence, that can be so open that it can actually see to the left and the right of it, and above it and below it. And it's taken all those incarnations to get to that point. And here's something that now can do that, if that was the information it was given to understand. So my intuitive understanding of what it was doing, the only thing that I had to be able to compare it to was that capacity to see so far beyond our senses and be able to, to read those things basically in the electromagnetic waves, because that's what they're doing. And so then I was thinking, so yeah, I wonder what is it? I can't even form words around it. What is it that that managed for this quantum computing to get into existence when humans it must be less than 0.25% of the world's population that's ever been able to reach those states. Maybe it's more, maybe it's a full percent, maybe. I don't really know, but I kind of don't think so. But the fact that it was there must be a momentum that built with that work, that meditative work. There must be a momentum that built it, so that capacity was in the field, and then that got translated for people that have got that kind of intellectual intellect to be able to put that into math. I don't know, probably, right? Into mathematics, to be able to then build a computer that can do that. So yeah, like, I mean, my head was just spinning, and I was thinking about how, like, I mean, like you said, we can't, well, I certainly can't imagine what the future of all of this will bring. I mean, you can't predict it. There's no way in which you can predict it. But then, and I mean, I was also, then I went back, and I was thinking about what people felt like when electricity was invented, and how unknown that was to 90% of the population.
How
And
absurd and ridiculous it was.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's history. It's the Earth's flat.
Exactly. I mean, that must have terrified people, right? If the Earth's not flat, how on earth are we going to stay on it? Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and and it's like the rules of the bias, like putting the bias in place so that it's beneficial, and it's like where that information is coming from somewhere. So what it
and
people use it for good, and they'll use it for bad.
Yes. And again, it's that, for me, it's that thing of one of your most important roles in life is to engage with it.
Yeah.
Right? It's really important, because it does make a difference. Because you could argue that the more people that have got the better interests in the world that engage with this, the stronger that side of it will become. Because it's impartial, right?
That's right.
It's only looking at information, so it's not attaching anything personal at all.
Right. And that is maybe better.
Exactly. Yes. I ultimately, I think it is.
I think so too.
Yeah. Well, that was a bit of a tour de force, but to get to the more practical things. So what I thought, because I still haven't gotten to the documents. Sure, go,
Yeah,
Jess.
real quick.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So yeah, so I was thinking about formulating the PDF to have like a very basic structure with it, which we've got. But I don't know in terms of then being able to publish it. And I don't mean publishing like on a platform or anything. I mean just so that I can formulate it and have it as a PDF for people to use. A very simple version, like a kind of broken down version of what we've got so far, just so that they have that as notes kind of thing to refer to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing that I want to get to. And then I wanted to ask you, in terms of the people that I wanted to write to, if I could send draft emails to you, please, and then could you look over them and make suggestions? And
Yeah, of course.
thank you.
Thanks.
You okay?
Yeah, the little one was yelling at me, telling me what she was doing. So she's waiting for mom to show up. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's like, yeah, I think that's what's there for me as well as like getting it's a cheat sheet, if you will, and it's like there's something there to build off of it, to share it, and get feedback from it. Yeah.
Yes, of course. So my other two partners they've got their hands full with stuff at this point. And I've kind of withdrawn a bit because I feel like I really don't have the skill and I don't have the motivation, which is terrible, but I really don't. For marketing in the way that we need to. And so it's a waste of my time and of theirs, so that's what I want to get on with this other stuff rather.
Mm-hmm.
And once I've done that, then and it's ready, then I can go back and whatever there is that I can review maybe to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those it was those three things mostly. And I think I've got more brain space. I'm getting through physical symptoms that were really disorientating, and they're kind of settling. It's like my body's adapting. I have odd days where it's bad, but not like where it was, one day after another.
Yeah.
So I'm pleased about that. Very happy about that. And I think that's about it. Yeah.
It keeps keeps showing up around it is like we'll use the gene keys for example, for whatever that's worth, but at the point of it is for people to helping people discover. They'll have a guidepost. It's like, oh, that's their genius, that's their passion, that's their purpose. Peace, passion, power, purpose, right? And it's like, yes, people know that, they just don't know what to do with it. They get it, they hear it, right? It's there. There's nothing there that says what to do with it. How to foster it, how to build it, how to pull it out, how to focus on it, how to structure it, how to create it, how to live it.
Yeah. I think the one thing that was very interesting for me, it was a personal family kind of thing. And there was a dilemma about whether to be in or out. And there was lots of stories about the ethics of both, and then the concern about the repercussions of being in or out, and so all that future projection, right?
Yeah.
And then I just brought it right back and I said, can you allow yourself to experiment for a while before you make a decision? And that landed just like that. And then in addition to that, I said, just remember, when you can't make a decision, it's because you don't have enough of the information that you need. And so you've got to learn to sit in the tension of not knowing. And that also worked, which was great. I was very pleased about that. Because I couldn't always model that.
Right. It's, every what's what I like what I was looking with, like it seemed as if I was looking for some test, right, that someone could see that could be like, oh, that drives a market, that drives an interest, right? And it's like people are always in decision points, like every moment, and it is a lot of worry for people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a lot of stress on the decision and a process to make decisions easier, cleaner, quicker, less stress.
Yeah. You know what, Jesse, you know what I would really, really love? I'm so glad we came to this now. because I was thinking about this on the weekend and then I forgot. I would really love to be able to go through one of Fritz's videos on that digital decision making, because I haven't managed to really sit down and study it properly yet. I'd really like to understand more about what he's doing there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been
Those are the ones that are on his website, right? I mean, that's
yeah, yeah.
That's the questions that he leads people through.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting that he calls it digital decision making, you know, digital decision making. Sorry.
And that's it. You know, I think people can make decisions. That's a choice. It's helping people make a choice, which is just a decision. It's a structure. Yeah, it's what you spoke, right? It's like a play with either one, play with both. We don't give ourselves permission to do that.
Yes, I know, but it's also, I find, I mean, because I had, you know, the family situation was something that has been going on and on, back on and off for the last year almost. And then with a friendship situation, which is somebody that doesn't really just usually struggle with decisions, but the family situation is somebody that really struggles with making decisions a lot over the smallest things. And with both of them, at the moment, the friendship one was in that moment, there was all this verbiage around, which is what I used to do about, you know, if I do this, then that, then that, then that. But all those then that, then that, and then that was always negatively biased. There was very little of the, you know, of the positive, right? So that's easy enough to kind of pull in and catch and point out to the person, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when there's that kind of prediction and there's an anxiety attached to both situations, it was important to cut that. Because there wasn't, as you said to me the other day in the Go game, what happens when there's pressure, you know? So in the one situation, there was pressure. She had to make a decision. In the other situation, the pressure is self-imposed. So I could point that out. I could say, nobody's holding a gun to your head.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have enough information at this point in time, number one. That's why you're in doubt. And you're still gathering information. And the situations are changing as you're going along. You're thinking still about what was at the beginning of the year, and what was is different now. So that was easier in a way to facilitate, because there wasn't the crunch.
Yeah, I mean, any time there's communication, it's easier to facilitate.
Yes.
Because the other way, it's anticipating which ways they would go with it.
Yeah. So, I spoke to you about the one with the friendship, right? And she made her decision, and I asked her what she did. And I was so happy to hear this. She said, I broke it down into chunks and little pieces. And I looked at what was on the other side of it. Because I'd said to her, that's the one thing that I found useful from you when you say, well, what's on the other side of it? So she used that, what I'd given her. And then she just obviously instinctively, as I said, I've never known her to be so conflicted with the decision. So she could pull in her innate skills that were already there. But it was good because I was intrigued to find out, okay, so what did she use? And that's what she used. So that was really interesting.
So what you gave her was good enough.
I think so. Like you said, just to let her also just talk it out, right? I think that was important because there's been quite a bit of isolation for her in her circumstances. So there's nobody else to really, talk it out with. So that was good. And the other thing also that I pointed out to her, which she also recognized, was that thing of sitting in the tension. Because she couldn't discern whether it was a trauma activation or whether it was an intuition that was so strong that it was saying no. So that was difficult for her to be able to distinguish between, and I can relate to that very much. Although, there's something that's happened for me internally in my body that has been able to switch that anxiety, which I'm extremely grateful for. I still have other emotions around making decisions, of course. But that awful anxiety and not knowing.
Well, you've seen it's the power's in the choice, because then it'll be feedback. As faster the choice happens, the feedback's there. And then it's like, oh, is that the direction or not? It's the worst is the non-choice.
Yeah, it's sitting in the indecision. Definitely. It's funny that, hey, that because you kind of ask yourself, well, why is that so hard? And I think it's because there is something in you pushing, and you're saying, no, I'm holding back for now.
Yep. No, not ready for that. And then it's all sorts of stories for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what's the right one? What's the right? And it's like, the first one.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And I was also thinking a lot too, just also about, because there's some, obviously, everybody's always got, big decisions to make at some point. And so I was thinking about it too, in terms of how useful it is to be aware of things that got created because of decisions that you made a while back. So you're sitting with those creations. And I think the reason why it's useful is because you go back and you understand for yourself with more compassion what informed those decisions at that point for yourself and for the other person. and then to bring it into the now and see it for what it is with much more acceptance, right?
Mhm.
A lot more acceptance. And therefore you drop the charge around the original decisions that you made.
Right.
So that's been really useful for me.
It is like accepting that, oh, that was the choice. It is where I'm at, and not good or bad,
That's right. Yeah,
not right
might
or
not be.
wrong.
Yeah, it might not be what you want,
That's feedback,
right?
information.
Yeah, yeah,
And when we can make that discernment, oh, it's not what I want, then we can say, oh, well, what would it be like if I did? What would it? And that's the difference. That's the space.
that's right. And then, I mean, for me in this situation, it was realizing that what I wanted, I was fine with, but there were different levels of it, as they always are. And okay, so how can I put this together? So when I say there are different levels, it's whether it's outside of myself or internally to be able to make that discernment. And because of certain values that I have, can I keep that internal experience in myself, staying with the decision that I had made and recognizing that a large part of why in the redeciding there was still that decision was because of values that I have, which are really fundamental to my being able to live with myself.
In which you always are living with yourself.
I know, but to live peacefully with myself, right?
Yep. Yep.
We definitely are always living with ourselves, but it's the attitude
We bring.
that
Yes.
comes. Mm,
The biggest awareness, right, is the attitude that's being brought.
mm, mm, mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you done for today?
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you. Great spending
Thank
time with you.
you.
Mm.
Thank you very much, Jess.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
are you good for tomorrow?
Mhm.
Okay. Can we maybe watch one of the videos and pull it apart?
Yeah. Let's do that.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah. If there's one you've got
Yeah.
in mind, let's put
Okay.
that way I can watch it earlier on, and I'll look for the patterns and what I see in it, and in our words and our language and our discussions of it, and see how we can apply that into our practice.
Yeah. I'll choose one of the shorter ones. I mean, there's one that I think the first one that I saw was the one that Mona posted, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember
But
that.
I'll go and find the link and I'll send it to you because that was quite short. The video was quite short, right? So it's probably best.
Yeah, and yeah, because I know some of them they do, like he takes a long time to get there from my perspective, but sometimes that's good. Like, I mean, it takes us time too, right? Depending on where we're at.
Mm. Mm.
I like it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I'm working his corporate tides book.
Are you? Okay. That should be interesting.
It is, yeah, it's a good one. I was thinking about it for your daughter-in-law. What you spoke about her and in her marketing and her communication.
Oh, thank you. Yes, brilliant. Okay, so it's called Corporate Tides, and it's written by him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay, Robert
one of his
Fritz.
newer ones. I think. I mean, it's. I think it's so much cleaner than the Path of Least Resistance.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and it ties to corporate, so people can begin to think about it as like, oh, how would I bring this to business? Is really what it. Which once you get the structure, you bring it everywhere.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Yeah. Okay. Probably something that I should stick my hands in also before the end of the year. I'll see. I'll see.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Well, Allison, thank you. Have a
Enjoy
wonderful day, and
I will.
can't wait to be with you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye for now.